Hey guys, it's your humble host, or Kid if you prefer. So I'm back with a very important video, and it's more than likely going to be demonetized right away. It has to do with information that Google is censoring and is going out of their way to censor ever since Donald Trump got elected. And this is a thing. An employee has come forward blowing the whistle on a project called Project Veritas. And some companies have already been outed. If you remember how the 2016 presidential election went down, there was a big fight with the media and how a lot of media outlets were bought and paid for to spin a certain narrative that was going against actually what was happening. Also, after we watch this video, and I need you to pay very close attention, we're going to be revisiting a blog post that YouTube themselves has put out June 5th, because a lot of us tweeted about it, and then we're going to go over some of the stuff that has been happening. Also, I'm going to give some thoughts that has to do with my own channel in regards to what Google has been doing. So let's begin with this. And again, please pay attention because this is a real thing and this is happening right now.
The reason why I decided to come to Project Veritas is because people need to know what's actually going on with Google. There's this facade about what they're doing, but what they're actually doing, what the employees are actually seeing inside the company is different.
The reason we launched our AI principles is because people were not putting that line in the sand, and they were not saying what is fair and what's equitable. So we're like, well, we are a big company, we're going to say it. People voted.
So if you caught that, she's saying that there's people who didn't put the line in the sand, that there are people saying that what's not fair. What's not fair is you guys were hiding search results that did not fit the narrative, and you are guys taking claims that you guys are now going to do that again so that Donald Trump will not get reelected. It doesn't matter what you guys do. I do believe he's going to get reelected, but you guys are out to squash any information, any naysayer that goes against your wanted narrative because you guys are bought and paid for. Also, I'm going to put a link in the description because a recent article came out how Google was fighting against the bias, even though that they are implementing bias data. You'll see. Just watch.
We're going to say it.
People who voted for the current president do not agree with our definition of fairness.
Okay, so if you caught that, what she said, their definition of fairness, let me read it again. People who voted for the current president who do not agree with our definition of fairness. So here's Google saying that we are going to be the arbiters of what's fair, what's just. So for those who speak out against it, we're going to squash them, we're going to throttle them, we're going to deplatform them, and we're going to censor what they say. This is Google trying to be arbiters for you, for the people, instead of you guys deciding on what's fair for your own lives and for your own children. Let that sink in. These guys are trying to push a certain narrative, and it's been happening for a while. It's been happening since the 2016 presidential election. This is scary stuff. As I tell people on my channel, don't let anybody spoon feed you shit. Don't. This is why when I look into something, I go by several articles. Get away from the outrage culture. They're peddling that bullshit.
They're not objective piece. They're not an objective source of information.
But then there are teams which are called ML fairness.
ML fairness, the teams?
Fairness, like,
yeah.
You need to be fair. Fairness, like,
ML
which are called
what do we mean by ML fairness? Sorry, I'm trying to stop and pause this because these are kind of going by very fast. Algorithmic unfairness means unjust or prejudicial treatment of people that is related to sensitive characteristics such as race, income, sexual orientation, or gender throughout algorithmic systems or algorithmically aided decision making. So, anything, because as we've seen on YouTube, you talk about LGBT, you talk about feminism, you talk about religion, you talk about what's going on with, say, possibly immigration, or you talk about the real teachings of Islam, or the scientific study of what gender actually is, what the sexes are, demonetized, censored, limited. They don't want you talking about these things at all, like at all. And they put a system in place where anybody who speaks out against a narrative in regards to race, like with the BLM, just for example, of the idea that's being pushed of white supremacy or white privilege, if you speak out against that, demonetized, censored, possibly have your video removed depending on the severity and if they feel like you have a big enough voice to reach a lot of audiences. Notice how it's the bigger voices that get squashed right away. Income, the wage gap, which is a big thing with feminism. You talk against that. Censored, demonetized, bam. Sexual orientation, anything that speaks out against the gender politics going on, anything that speaks out against the trans umbrella, bam. And anything, like I've noticed too, like anything that mentions it at all, demonetized, censored, possibly removed. I'll give you an example of a video that was removed, and I think I had to do a little bit with the presentation, but I'm not a fan of her. But her video on the rainbow wedding of the Arthur episode was removed because supposedly it violated community guidelines. I sat and watched that video all the way through, what inspired me to do my own video about it, because I even referenced hers and put a link in the description to her BitChute version of it. It wasn't violating any community guidelines, but YouTube removed it for whatever freaking reason. Demonetized it and removed it. So it's now on BitChute. Presidential treatment that talks about immigration, the refugees coming in. I'm gonna put in Muslims because a lot of people consider Islam to be some sort of race for whatever freaking reason. You talk about anything that goes against the narrative with that, demonetized, censored. So this is what is going on. This is a thing. They're choking channels on purpose, or anybody that goes against the narrative that they feel has a large enough voice that can reach the masses, and they are choking these people because they don't want Donald Trump reelected again. This is how scary it's getting.
ML fairness.
ML fairness, it seems.
Fairness, like,
Yeah.
you know, you need to be fair.
We're also training our algorithms, like if 2016 happened again, would we have...
So notice training the algorithms, meaning anything that goes against our wanted narrative, we're going to make sure it doesn't get views. It's taken out of the algorithms. It's not suggested. Do you guys remember how YouTube videos or channels that you guys started to be subscribed to that you've never seen before? It's happened to me. It's actually starting to happen with Facebook too, how I ran into 2 pages the other day. 2 pages that didn't even have a sponsor or suggested. It was just pages that popped up in my feed that I didn't even know what they were. I didn't like, I didn't follow them, I didn't do anything with them. So it's not just YouTube's doing this, it's also Facebook, Twitter. These are what these media outlets are doing. They're trying to shove media in your face that goes with their wanted narrative. And they're training the algorithms to do it. We just have a confirmed whistleblower from Google, which obviously owns YouTube.
Would their outcome be different?
They are a highly biased political machine that is bent on never letting somebody like Donald Trump come to power again.
2020 is certainly on top of, now my old organisation, Trust and Safety, is top of mind. They've been working on it since 2016 to make sure we're ready for 2020.
This is a
So if you notice, again, they don't want someone like Donald Trump coming into power again. This is how afraid that they are of Donald Trump. If you notice with Donald Trump, if you notice like his campaign, and I'm pro-Trump. I voted for him in 2016. That was actually my first presidential election. That I otherwise than that, I've never taken part of any election. I hate politics, but I'm having to get involved in them more because of the stuff that is going on and because of the agendas that are getting pushed. So with the Donald Trump, what has he done? He's cracked down on immigration. We just averted a possible war with Iran. He's rebuilt our military. He's actually taking care of our communities. I'm not saying he's perfect. I know he did an oopsie today where he put out a policy against Iran, but accidentally put it against a leader that was already passed away some years ago. But he has kept all of his campaign promises, and people don't like him because he digs his heels not into the sand, but into the damn stone foundation and goes, no, enough. I personally like the guy. He's rough around the edges, made a few blunders here and there. But considering the changes he's made, the wave he has made, if you look at like the Democrats, what they're pushing, and I'm not saying hashtag not all, but open borders, we should be letting all these people in. When during the 2016 presidential election, who had voter fraud on their side? Who had dead people voting? Who had double votes, triple votes? Hillary, the Democrats, George Soros. It's all connected. This all sounds like conspiracy theories. It's not. It is really happening. This is something that people need to look into for themselves. Again, don't take my word for it. Freaking go look this stuff up. Go do research. You have people that are trying to lead you a certain way, like sheep. You have people that, in a sense, are trying to indoctrinate you into a certain way of thinking or into their narrative for them to stay in power. This is what's happening. You have to push for socialism. You have to push from Bernie Sanders, Oscar Cortez, of free programs that destroy countries. Again, I brought this up on my channel. Venezuela is going through a revolution, a rebellion right now, because of socialism has destroyed their country, because of the way that that country has been handled and led pretty much to its grave. You have companies that are pushing for gun control. You have the big wigs pushing for gun control. Look what's going on in New Zealand. They had the Christchurch shooting. They did a turn in your weapons. The country of New Zealand did a turn in your weapons rule. Nobody's following that. About like 300 people turned in the weapons. The rest said, F you. We know how this goes. Go away. Come get them. So again, this is all forming into one big picture. If you guys have also noticed, again, this is not a conspiracy theory. If you guys have noticed that the word global citizen has been tossed around, people want open borders. Look at what's going on in the EU right now. The UK is being overculturalized, with people who can't even assimilate or integrate properly into society. You have certain leaders who are focusing on what's considered to be dumb shit, but in reality, it's a distraction from what's really going on. If you guys don't know anything about the EU, pretty much what it is this. It is a group of countries that when they have an agreement, they're part of this one big union, and those countries who are part of the union, it's all open borders. People can come and go through the borders as they please for any country that's part of the EU. That is scary. And they want that shit over here, which Donald Trump has fought against that. No, open borders, no. We need to take care of our own. So, like, I'm going to continue the video because I could go off about it. But this is happening. People need to wake up. People think these higher ups think you were sheep, think you were stupid. Let's continue.
Goliath, I am but of David, trying to say that the emperor has no clothes.
He got called in front of Congress multiple times. They can pressure us, but we're not changing.
Being a small little ant, I can be crushed, and I'm aware of that. But this is something that is bigger than me. This is something that needs to be said to the American public.
And let's focus on what this lady's saying. Her name is Gina Gadai or Janai. Congress has called Google forward for what they've been doing. They're not going for it because they know what's going to happen. As you'll see here in just a second, she knows that they're going to be chastised. They're going to be called to the carpet for their garbage. They're not going to change. They are bought and paid for by the people who want to stay in power. This is a thing. Again, notice how the media war happened during the 2016 election. You had CNN, you had NBC, you had some comedians, like, for example, John Oliver pushing the narrative that Hillary's going to win. This is going on. You have outrage culture. You have outrage articles about what's going on at the border. I just covered one of my videos talking about how our border is overwhelmed and overtaxed and how they want to pull on your freaking heartstrings instead of giving you all the facts. Let's take a look at ICE. Because I referenced another story in that video talking about how people are saying that Donald Trump is trashing all these immigrants or abusing them and using ICE to do it. No, ICE has been coming in here and getting rid of the damn smugglers. One group of smugglers, a house of them, were caught in California. Oakland. I believe it was Oakland, California. So, no, this is happening. They want to keep your eyes averted away from what is really happening. I'll give you another example. And this has to do with Switzerland. Have any of you watched Soph, the 11-year-old? She did a video response to someone named Greta. I don't have the last name, nor can I pronounce the last name. Greta's being bolstered by Switzerland for climate change. That's another big thing that's being pushed as a distraction for something else. So as Switzerland is bolstering the 16-year-old, guess what's going on in Switzerland right now? They have immigration problems. They're being overrun with all these foreigners that they have no way to manage or control. Again, all these bigwigs, all these higher-ups, people in power want to avert your eyes from what's actually going on because they're fucking up. Again, I may sound like Alex Jones or conspiracy, but this is going on. You have Pinterest was caught censoring certain types of media. Anything that was pro-life, anything that was Christian got thrown underneath the pornographic label or porn label and therefore censored. You could not find it. Let's continue watching.
Elizabeth Warren is saying that we should break up Google. And like, I love her, but she's very misguided. Like, that will not make it better, it'll make it worse.
It'll make it worse because I'm going to finish her sentence for her, and then I'm going to allow her to finish. Because now all these smaller companies won't have the same resources, even the same power, the same control, the same level of influence to control. Let's continue.
Now all these smaller companies who don't have the same resources that we do will be charged with preventing the next Trump situation. It's like a small company cannot do. And it's like...
So again, because I remember when Elizabeth Warren was talking about how she wanted to break up companies like Facebook and break up companies like Google. And at first I thought it was a bad idea because, like, well, no, they kind of built themselves up. But when you actually look into the stories of these companies, if you look at what they're trying to do, like, let's look at Facebook. Facebook has a huge problem with censoring people. Data has been leaked. I'm actually going to link another video. It's by Truth Factory. Truth Factory has gone into the development of Facebook, and the project that inspired Google, or pretty much is Google, or not Google, but is Facebook, that inspired Facebook, and that project has another name underneath the title of Facebook. So I'm gonna link that video below, and I recommend you guys watch that as well. So at first, like I said, I thought the breakup of these big companies was a bad idea. But like with Facebook, they also want to get into the financial business. They want to get into investments. They want to get into loans. They're trying to push their own cryptocurrency called Libra. And they already have a censoring problem. We already have a problem with payment processors shutting down people's bank accounts, pulling out, refusing to fund certain sites because they have the... Oh, right. Look what happened with Subscribestar. I still don't agree with the Patreon situation with Sargon in regards to how he handled it. I think he kind of shot himself in the foot. But when a lot of people went to Subscribestar, you had MasterCard, you had PayPal, I think you even had Visa pull out for a time saying, no, you just had a bunch of alt-right people join your site. We're not processing anything for you. Goodbye. You had a situation, I believe, with Minds. It was either Minds or BitChute. One of their payment processors pulled out because the influx of users that went over there that they deemed alt-right. So this is a thing that is happening. So yeah, as I said, machine learning fairness or ML fairness, again, anything that speaks against the narrative of what is gender, the wage gap, feminism, religion, particularly Islam, anything having to do with LGBT, and at this point it's anything positive or negative, as we've seen pro-LGBT videos torn off. We've seen anti-LGBT videos be torn off. So anything at all LGBT related. What else? If you talk about immigration, anything going at the border, whether it be the U.S., other countries. If you talk about anything against climate change, anything about abortion, whether it be pro-choice, pro-life, anything that speaks out against the gender politics. So there's rules set in place of things you cannot talk about, and if you do, you will get demonetized. Now, something that I have talked about and noticed before, because there was an interview that I can't remember which company had it with Susan Wojcicki, and she was asked by someone named, it was either Yuna or she was asked, well, is there a different set of rules, or how do you enforce rules across all these different genres? And Susan went on to explain how there's different rules for different genres, like there's possibly different set of rules for beauty versus news and political. And I've told people before, because like on my stream I mentioned it, was it my drawing stream or the stream before, that there's certain things I will not play because I don't know if I'm going to get struck with community guidelines, demonetization, limited state, because certain people, certain YouTube channels have the favoritism of YouTube because they push the right narrative where they could do pretty much anything they want on their channel without it getting struck, copyrighted, demonetized, limited, removed, their channel struck, while other users do not have the same privileges. Like, for example, if anytime I do a reaction video to, say, like a movie like Captain Underpants, or Kim Possible, or, I don't know, Toy Story, it's automatically going to hit with a copyright claim, and I won't be able to monetize it, even though the video was used in a derivative way, and it's used for educational purpose, and it's a reaction video to where I'm pausing the video, talking, playing the video again for a few seconds, and so forth. So I cannot monetize any reaction video. I cannot monetize certain things on my channel because YouTube won't let me, when, say, another YouTube user who does reaction videos, who has a massive audience, who talks positive about every video that they do a reaction response to, they get to monetize those videos, and they get to do whatever they want on their channel. They don't get copyright strike or copyright claim for anything because they're in YouTube's favor. Now let's look at the blog post that was, again, June 5th of 2019, and I know this video has gone on for 22 minutes, but this is really freaking important. Just let me read this, because I did tweet about this. Over the past few years, we've been investing in the policies, resources, and products needed to live up to our responsibility to protect the YouTube community from harmful content. This work has focused on 4 pillars: removing violent content, raising up authoritative content. And so when I go and click on what authoritative content is, they were talking about news outlets. If you've noticed, over the past 3 to 4 years, more news channels and sites have moved over to YouTube because the way that cable and all that is changing. More people are streaming instead of turning into their televisions or turning on their televisions, and less people are purchasing cable packages, and they're coming over to YouTube. They're coming over to places like Hulu, BitChute, Netflix, any online website that will stream. So as I said, give me 1 second here to see. Supporting journalism with technology that allows news to thrive. We believe quality journalism requires sustainable revenue streams, and that we have a responsibility to support innovation in products and funding for news. So if you guys remember, there was also talk on how a bunch of these news corporations were paying Google lots of money to bolster their particular channels. If you guys remember that, this all ties in together, guys. This has been going on for a while. Hell, this goes all the way back to freaking Candid. You guys remember what Candid was, right? The Candid was used as a free speech platform, when in reality it was training an AI to be aware of certain things. And it was implemented to YouTube sometime later because Google bought the damn thing. Yeah, no, this all ties together. This is like integrated. This is the subtle changes. People have talked about the subtle changes to YouTube time and time again. And I know you have sides going, oh, well, these aren't a big deal. It is a big deal. There's a big nuance to what has been going on. It's like a spider web. A little thread here, a little thread there, and suddenly, when you look around, you're enveloped in this huge web that you are stuck to. This is what YouTube is becoming. This is what our media outlets are becoming. So, in a way, I do agree with Elizabeth Warren breaking these companies up. They have too much power. They purposely get rid of the competitive atmosphere, the competitors. They squash their resources. So it's getting bad. There was an article, as I mentioned before, that was released talking about how Google was trying to get rid of the bias in the data. Actually, let me see if I can pull that up. Yeah, you guys are gonna laugh at this one. Yeah, we're doing this live. I had it pulled up, but let's see, gender pronouns. Come on, I pulled it up late. Let's see. Oh, we are doing this live. Because actually, you know what? I actually tweeted about this a little bit ago. And if I can't find it, I'm not going to sit here the entire time trying to, oh, here we go. Nope, found it. Thank you, Arcater. So this is from thestandard.co.uk. So Google's head of ethical machine learning on the ways Google is tackling bias in AI. This was dated November 9th of 2018. So this was over a year ago, actually a little under a year ago now. So this contradicts what the video we just saw, what she was saying. At a Google conference last year, the company's then head of artificial intelligence said we don't need to worry about killer robots. Instead, we need to worry about bias. You mean you're biased? Or translation of bias, the media that goes against your guys' wanted narrative. The narrative that you guys are bought and paid for to push. The real safety question, if you want to call it that, is that if we give these systems biased data, they will be biased, said John Gaianandria. This is something Google has struggled with in the past. There was one particular incident where an algorithm in Google Photos was mistakenly classifying Black people as gorillas. Oy. As a result, everyone from IBM to Airbnb is trying to ensure that the algorithms they are creating are not incorporating similar bias. For Jen Ganai, Google's head of ethical machine learning, trust and safety, preventing bias is literally in their job description. In this role, Ganai leads a cross-company team that analyzes and interrogates new products and services to ensure that all new Google products are adhering to this ethical standard. But as we just saw, Google wants to tell you what's fair. Google wants to tell you what's right according to them, according to the narrative that they are bought and paid for to push. So again, this is happening, and let me try to wrap up this video again. I know this is a bit of a long one, going on to half an hour. Something I've noticed with my own channel and what's been going on with other channels, we've noticed a full demonetization of Steve Crowder. Again, that situation is shit all around, but he got entirely demonetized. Let's look what happened with Tim Pool. Tim Pool put out a video about YouTube censorship. YouTube removed it. Didn't like what he said about it. Completely gone. So what I've noticed without the confirmation, again, YouTube and Google will choke those who speak out against their wanted narrative. Also, something too that I have noticed, because again, I'm going to bring this situation up. YouTube will squash and throttle the channels that expose their shitty behavior. Again, Tim Pool's video of censorship removed because it exposed their shitty behavior. When it came to the DO5 stuff, it exposed YouTube's lack of discipline when it came to its reporting system and allowing particular video genres on YouTube that had to deal with child abuse. You had these weird-ass little cartoons that had to do with Elsa Gate. So when the DO5 stuff happened, when it blew all the way up into international news, poof, YouTube was put on the spotlight, and that triggered a set of other situations like Elsa Gate and a few others, which had also YouTube cracking down on comment sections of anybody who had put their children in their video, to where they disabled the comments so pedophiles wouldn't mark the video with certain timestamps and things like that. So again, goes back to what I've been saying. Give me one sec. Nope, sorry, I got neighbors next door. That YouTube will throttle and squash and censor and remove from the algorithm that goes against their bought and paid for narrative, and that also goes against, or rather exposes their shitty behavior, makes them look bad. It's what happened to my channel. Ever since that particular situation, I have noticed that my videos do not meet the sub count. And I know the sub count is not that important in regard to video views, because I know that even YouTube has changed how the videos are bolstered, meaning you have to have comment interaction. It used to just be to where watch time, but it's now interaction, like in the comments, interacting with the comments, how many likes, how many dislikes. So they've purposely messed and jacked with the algorithm, so many videos fall through the cracks. I've noticed a throttle, a bottleneck chokehold on my own channel ever since the DO5 situation, because it exposed just how shitty YouTube was with particular video genres. So sorry again about this video being long, but this is something y'all need to pay attention to, because this is happening. I'm going to put in the description the link to the Twitter video. I'm going to put in the description the blog that I touched upon. I'm going to put in the description this article, and then I'm going to put in the description to Truth Factory's video about what has been going on, particularly with Facebook, because that is very similar to YouTube and censoring. It's crazy. So for those of you who don't know what the 1984 reference is, Orwellian, there was a book. I haven't read it myself, but I've heard enough references to where it pretty much, at this point, it's a freaking user manual that people are using to keep certain people in power, to censor media that everyone doesn't like or goes against the narrative. This is happening. They don't want Trump in power again because of the change that he is able to bring. When you have people who are so scared of an individual that they go out of their way to screw with news outlets, content creators, artists, news blogs, freaking social profiles, payment processors. These people are scared because Trump challenges their foundation of power. And again, I may sound like Alex Jones. Look around. Go back and read up on what happened in the 2016 presidential election if you guys were not paying attention. This is a real thing. Again, look up terms global citizen. Look at why people want open borders so bad. People want one government. This is all many puzzle pieces, all subtle changes. Again, one thread here, one thread there, and all of a sudden you're stuck in a huge ass spider web that you cannot escape. I'm serious. More and more voices are going to be raised about this. They want to do this monkey shit again, and it's going to be twice as bad. Because, again, they're going to change up their game because of what happened last time. Anyway, this has been your humble host. Please, again, do your own research. Don't let anybody spoon feed you. When you are looking at a situation, do not go for the first news article you see. Do not get automatically outraged. Do not automatically take offense. Dig into everything. use several pages, and in my opinion, if you have to use other search engines, there's Bing and there's DuckDuckGo. Use everything at your disposal to get a full knowledge and awareness of the situation before you say anything about it or before you become outraged. Because at this point, Google, all these other media outlets, all these people in power are feeding off your outrage at this point. And that's like, instead of getting people to lead and follow with logic, they're feeding off of people's emotions. They've been doing it for a while, and that's the easiest way to manipulate people, is people not thinking for themselves and just getting outraged and emotional. Look what's happening with our youth. Anyway, that's enough out of me. You guys have a nice one.